Hello, everyone. This is Tim, and I wanted to talk a little bit about something I proposed to my weekly gaming group. In the past, we've played different settings. We played in some of my actually one of my campaign settings multiple times, and everyone knows on here that I like to world build. In fact, I will tend to. I'll start a world, I'll develop it, and I'll work really hard on it, and then it'll sit and gather dust for a while. And then sometimes I'll go back and try to change some things or adjust some things when the mood strikes me. And I found that if I have multiple settings, that depending on what mood I'm in and what ideas pop in my head for my my dark muse that just gives me ideas all the time, I have some outlet for that creative energy. Even if it's like let's say I'm playing a fantasy game or I'm running a fantasy game, and I get this really wild idea for like a sci-fi thing. You know, I'll try to make a setting around it, or I'll put that idea down somewhere in like a GM kind of brainstorm notebook, and whenever I'm feeling sort of out of ideas, I'll go back through that notebook and say, oh yeah, that's right, I remember this. Like one time I had an idea for superheroes of the apocalypse. It's just a like punch you in the face kind of setting hook. Really haven't done much with it. I don't really tend to like superhero games. Just not my thing. Really, the only comic book I read when I was growing up was the Spawn comic books. Uh, kind of like the anti-hero thing, and Todd McFarlane. But I don't know. So anyway, the idea that I proposed to my weekly gaming group was, I said, random idea. What do you guys think about making a setting as a group? I don't mind being the sort of organizer, slash workhorse, because I'm used to doing all the work myself. I've always kind of wanted to make a setting with other people and actually have it produce results. My Enlil world building project, where I had everyone make a hex. This was before I did the YouTube thing with the hex world. Kind of fell apart. It was basically just left to me and one other person to finish the work of all these other people, and it was very frustrating, especially if like the ideas that the hex started out with weren't really appealing. So it almost felt like homework to some extent. There were some things that I really I cranked up the weird in some settings and some of those areas and finished them off fairly enough so that they were kind of usable, but I don't know. It always felt like I was beating a dead horse when I was trying to finish that. So I'm hoping that if I'm in a weekly gaming group and they see me all the time, that'll motivate them to, if not work on things as hard as I do, to have criticism, throw in random ideas, uh, come at the setting at different viewpoints so that maybe there's something that I don't see because I'm in the forest and they're outside looking in. They can see everything that's going on. Like, it'd be really cool if you did this over here, or maybe there's this culture should be tweaked a little bit. But I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know what they're going to come up with, what kind of setting they want. Um, we've been playtesting that Novus RPG, and one of the players said, "Well, it'd be kind of cool if we got our names on this RPG. How about we, maybe make a setting for it and see what happens." And then I suggested maybe, if we didn't want to do that, because people like different sorts of RPGs in the group, that maybe we can just make it systemless, where we just describe things in detail, but, kind of leave it open-ended for whatever sort of game you want to translate it to. I know that there's a setting out there called Khoras. Uh, it's like Khoras. I'll put a link to it down here at the bottom of the video so everybody knows or can check it out. But I was thinking maybe along those lines where we just come up with an idea for a setting that can really be the group setting. Where if someone wanted to run a game and it was fantasy, hopefully they would want to run it in this setting and maybe take a different section of the world and try to kind of flesh it out a little bit when you're the GM. I've noticed myself that I tend to do a lot more world building when I'm running a campaign. which it always kind of strikes me as funny because during the times I'm not running a game, I have more free time. So you would think if I don't have a lot to do because I'm not running a game, that I would spend that time world building. It doesn't always work out that way. Even though I like world building, it just seems that when we are in the campaign setting and you have the players influencing things, throwing out ideas, that more ideas seem to spring out. And they can change the setting in different ways. Actions that they take can greatly kind of mess with things. And I also wondered if there's multiple campaigns going to be run in this setting, to sort of build a history as we go. Maybe the last campaign's characters have essentially, been given NPC status, and they are affecting the world in cool ways, so that the character sheets of the actual players would then live on sort of in the setting. And I think that'd be kind of a neat idea. Maybe one of the fighters becomes a king, or a baron or noble, some sort of place on the map. And then later, as a different character, maybe you actually converse with your old character. And I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know if we're going to publish it or not. There might actually be a possibility for us to have a free license to publish a setting like this. But again, it's one of those things. I seem to have a lack of ambition usually in my life. I would rather enjoy myself than make a lot of money. And as an RPG author, anyway, from what I hear, you make dirt. So from my experience, it's not worth all the hassle to try to get something published or put it out there. So that's probably why most of my stuff is for free. This is a hobby for me. I don't want my hobby to become my job that I hate. So, and as a hobby, I can ignore it when I'm not feeling up to it. It's not like a 9-to-5 thing where, okay, it's time to work on the setting. I don't know I don't think my creative side works that way. It's fickle, it's whimsical. It strikes me in the weirdest of places. Sometimes I wake up from a dream and I need a pencil, I need a paper, I'm writing this crap down because that was the craziest thing I've ever remembered dreaming. Because I don't usually remember dreams, but when I do, they're usually pretty weird. So hopefully everyone is on board. Hopefully, I've gotten about 4 emails back, basically saying it's kind of a cool idea. I told them to kind of maybe go through some of my videos of world building and get some ideas. And there's other websites out there. I think it's the World Builders Guild. They have lots of different settings going on. The author of Order of the Stick actually has a little sort of stream of consciousness thing that he's actually making a setting, thinking about things and how things fit together. And it was actually a really enjoyable read because it just shows you how, especially if you start top down, you work with the gods and the map and everything and kingdoms, that you can really, by switching a few things, you can greatly change the flavor of a setting. And I'm really curious to see what these guys would come up with. I'm hoping that it'll be a setting that I wouldn't make myself. That while I might have, lots of thumbprints in there, that there's a lot of ideas that, I would never come up with myself. And I'm hoping, the goal has always been to have lots of different creative minds in sort of a melting pot and to see what comes out of it. And it would be really cool if we have, sort of like our own setting. And I'm kind of curious to see where this is going to go. And I also told them, it's like, hey, if you guys don't want to make your own setting, you don't have enough time, family life, I have a feeling that in the next few years, my free time is drastically going to go down if we decide me and my wife decide to have kids. But so I understand, not having enough free time to want to, work on things. But at the same time, I think it'd be really cool to, have something that we all kind of have input in. And I wanted to say that to these guys, it's like, if you don't want to start from scratch, you can take one of my old settings, or maybe maps from my old settings, or, we can recycle some ideas that are in those settings and kind of literally like throw all my settings in a blender, grind it up, take out the things that everybody likes, and we can, reskin them and put them into a new setting. And So we'll see what everybody thinks. Sometimes it feels like I'm herding cats, but again, it just started, and from my previous attempts at having group projects, I'm gonna have a very low expectation, I guess, from the whole thing. When I started that Enlil world building project, that's hard to say. I had very high expectations, and I definitely left that feeling disgruntled and kind of angry. Uh, but live and learn. So I'm sure group projects you guys have had in like high school or whatever probably turned out bad. I was always the one that was like, okay, well, if you don't want to fail, you should probably show up. You should probably, hold that beaker or whatever. And I usually did all the work because no one else was lazy or everyone else was lazy or they just didn't care. And it's like, I'm not letting my grade suffer because of you guys, but whatever. High school misery. All right. So I'll give you guys some updates if we actually come up with some sort of setting. There are other settings that I have that I really haven't talked about. I talked about Marth. I talked about my idea for Shadow Children. I have a Burning Heaven setting that literally is a fantasy setting with the sky on fire, above the I guess the higher levels of the atmosphere that I might do some videos on eventually. And there's no humans, and it's very exotic and weird. But we'll see what I do with that. So I don't know. Hopefully I have a new setting in the near future that has more input from my weekly players, and hopefully it goes somewhere. That'd be kind of cool. All right, see you guys later.